Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by the number one DFS guy, handicapper, prognosticator, on down the line here. I can keep going. Mr. Andrew Hansen, how's that? That doesn't
I like it.
build you up enough for a winning lineup, does it?
Yeah, exactly. I like that. We're all about DFS here. We were talking with our members a little bit about sports wagering tonight, and I really liked Houston on the money line. That came through. Man, a little more drama than I needed on that wager, but two really, exciting games, just as you and Shane talked about on the pod. Another game seven. So, man, this NBA bubble is really delivering.
It's been really crazy. Now, tonight I will say I was a little agitated with the ending of both games, though. I thought the refs took a little too much control. It was really slow. So many reviews, a couple of questionable calls. And that's a bummer because, the basketball's been great. And then when you have both games ending in all of that craziness, it just definitely not the best day for the officials, no question about it.
Yeah. Tough. I mean, just so many close plays. Dragic, was he moving forward? And then Giannis, I mean, he put his hand on him. You just can't do it. I mean, it wasn't a big push, but it's just inexcusable on that play to actually go over and make contact with him. He's so long, any sort of hand in the face would have done, it would have accomplished his goal of trying to interfere with the shot. I mean, that was just inexcusable.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. But, this is the first time in the history of the NBA that both number one seeds are 0-2. So I don't know if I'm sure that's a lot to do with the bubble because normally teams have that home court advantage for those two. But, man, it definitely stirs the barrel for I don't mean the two number one seeds. I mean the number one and the 2 seed in the East is
right,
what I was trying to say.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, it certainly stirs the pot there in the Eastern Conference with what's going to happen here. So very interesting. It's been a blast, and I think it's just going to get more intense as we go further into the playoffs.
Yeah. So starting right now with the first game that we're going to talk about with Toronto down 2-0, they're going to bring it.
Oh, yeah, they have to. And they definitely have a lot of guts. There's no doubt. So, we just finished the games for the evening. It's past midnight already. So we'll do our normal evening or early morning, however you want to look at it, show. And so this will be for the 2 games on the NBA slate for Thursday, September 3rd. And before we jump into both of these games, just real quickly want to thank our presenting sponsors, mybookie.ag. It is the place to go for all your sports wagering and casino action. Go to mybookie.ag and use the promo code CoachTalk, no space, one word, and they will match up to 100% of $1,000, and you get a $25 free play just for being a Coach Talk listener. And also TVG.com. The Kentucky Derby is Saturday. So this is the time to jump on TVG.com and utilize the risk-free $300 free play that they offer just for DFS Coach Talk. So you have to use the promo code Coach Talk, also no space, one word, and TVG will let you take that $300 shot at the Derby on Saturday. All right, game 1. As you mentioned, is going to be extremely exciting. Vegas sees it pretty much the way I was thinking this line would be. You've got the Raptors actually favored by 1, and that's going to vacillate. It could end up being Boston by 1 or probably a pick 'em. And the over-under's down. It's 215 because they know these two teams are going to D it up and, play hard. So exciting first game. And the question is, do you balance your 2 games with exposure, or are you going to focus on this game even though it's 8 points less on the over-under?
I think I'm going to spend more of my money in game number 1 on this slate. And the main reason is the context here. Toronto's down 2-0. We know that
Right.
Nick Nurse loves to play his guys heavy minutes, and there's no better time here to go all out. And when you get guys like Lowry, Van Vliet, Siakam, I would predict that they all play at least 40 minutes, assuming it's close. If they play really well, they win by 12, maybe they play 37, 38 minutes. But if this is a close game, I think they all play 40 minutes, and they're all under 8,000 on DraftKings, and they're all under 8,000 on FanDuel, except for Siakam. He's a little bit higher. He's 8.2. So all three of those guys are in play for me. Um, on the other side, Kemba, I think, is a solid option to go back to. Jaylen Brown, has been decent. Tatum, for me, he may be site dependent. I know he was excellent in the last game. 9.2 is a little bit pricey. He's
Yeah.
starting to get up in that Kawhi Leonard range, and I'm not even sure I want to pay up for that. But on
Yeah.
FanDuel, because of the positions, I may go with him there. I think the key decision there for me is going to be, it's actually going to be Jokic or Tatum for me.
Okay.
I'm still struggling with the FanDuel build because once again, the pricing is a little bit challenging with the positions.
Yeah.
Um, and then Tyson, Robert Williams, again, I think are both in play. Robert Williams on DraftKings at 3.6, it's not something I want to jump at. It would only come down to a two by two switch because you look at, Harrell and Zubats in the second game, they're 4.4 and 4.8. They're both playable, I think. So you're not getting much of a price discount to go down to Robert Williams, but if it allows you to pay up on another spot that you really like, I would do it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, Marcus Smart's in consideration too, if the price fits. But really, I am going to be heavily invested in Toronto.
Yeah. We're exactly on the same page. I think the last podcast we did together a couple days, it was actually 3 days ago, I guess, because Shane Sugar was on two in a row.
Yep.
I think we were like completely on opposite wavelengths. Our lineups were, I think we had one guy the same. It was nuts. But I'm with you on this one. I mean, I'm a Toronto truther here. I believe that they're going to come out. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to play whatever minutes they have to play to do it, just as you stated. And I think you can make multiple plays here. I mean, I've plugged in Lowry and Van Vliet together, and they've been terrific. I even had my third wheel, Norman Powell. That didn't work out as well last time, but he's not a bad play either. I don't know if you want to go all three guards, but I think you can look that way. Ibaka's been fantastic. He's a nice play. Gasol's price is very cheap, and again, we're it's such different builds. If it's DraftKings or compared to FanDuel and even Fantasy Draft, I mean, they're just absolutely completely different strategies based on the pricing. So that's going to be what you have to look at each individually. So talking about Toronto, for me, with Lowry at 7,800 and on FanDuel, and then he is
75 on DraftKings.
75. So that medium build pricing with Van Vliet. Van Vliet's $200 more on DraftKings, which is mind-boggling to me. But I think the fact that you're not in the 8s or 9s, you can really build some decent mid-price lineups. And I'm definitely starting mine with Van Vliet and Lowry, and then it's a matter of examining. Do you want to? How many Raptors are too many? I'm thinking, you could go 4 here if you want to go in Ibaka, right?
I just built one on DraftKings with 4, and I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you use Siakam?
Yep.
Well, he's only 79 on DraftKings, which I think is very reasonable. Where you could make him part of that full stack, and I think it's going to be popular. As far as Siakam on FanDuel, you mentioned it, 82. It's not bad. I mean, it's reasonable. I still don't think Siakam's playing his best basketball, though. I don't think he has since they've been in the bubble. But he certainly gets the attempts and minutes,
Yep. 43 minutes last game. And it was kind of surprising that OG actually outscored him because he hit all those
Crazy.
threes. And
Yeah.
he almost out rebounded him too.
Yeah.
But Siakam has some of the other stats. And like you said, he isn't hitting his potential. And he can easily give us a 50-point fantasy night if he gets a little bit more aggressive, gets a little bit more accomplished.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I'll go Lowry, Van Vliet, and Siakam and just put all my chips in on the Raptors. I may go two lineups tomorrow because in my initial builds here, I just had two slightly different looks, and usually I try to just go one lineup. But in one, I think I'll have that combination of Lowry and Van Vliet, and the other one, Lowry and Siakam. And I'm still going to consider Ibaka. I mean, he's playing fantastic. That is a guy, he's a free agent after this year. That's the guy I want the Mavericks to go after. He's not that old. He is a little older than the norm, but not to where he's washed up. But you talk about a guy that can finish at the rim, block shots like crazy, tons of rebounds, and he can knock down the three too. So at 6,500, I still think he's underpriced on FanDuel and DraftKings. What do we
61.
have? 61, even better. So he's certainly in play for me also. So we're both heavy Raptors tomorrow, no doubt about it. I think that we're not going to be alone. I think there's going to be a lot of people on that bandwagon for sure. On the Celtics side, it's interesting. There are multiple guys you can go with here. I think Jaylen Brown has played very well. Tatum is their high usage guy, though, but the pricing is a little bit difficult. So, the big question is going to be how many people are going to chase the Robert Williams performance. Yeah, he had that first quarter of his life there, but he got a decent run. He got a good rotation of minutes. Canner's not seeing the floor at all.
Nope.
He's just almost, I don't even know if they may inactivate him. I mean, that was one of the things you have to watch closely. That was an edge for me today. Even though he didn't smash, I used Marvin Williams because he's getting every second of backup center minutes for Milwaukee. They inactivated Robin Lopez. So,
right.
For me, Marvin Williams was out there 30-some minutes tonight. So I know he didn't make a bunch of shots and such, but, in my opinion, we need to set ourselves up for the most opportunity minutes, and, then those guys just have to perform. So I think we're looking at a similar thing here where I don't think it's, being a naive DFS player to chase Robert Williams in this game, because I do think he'll get a good 20, low 20s minutes, and he certainly produces when he's in there. And so I'm gonna consider him for a buy down option when normally I wouldn't. I would normally run from guys like this. Usually, when somebody has a fairly decent game that's not expected to, it's just such a sucker play for everybody that tries to chase that game. But in this situation, I just think he fits. He's quicker than Gasol, and so when he's in against him, he's got that first step, and then when he's in against Ibaka, as good as Ibaka is, he's stronger, he's thicker, so he's got a little bit of matchup advantage, I think, with Toronto, where he wouldn't if he's playing like an Anthony Davis or something. But in this situation, I think he fits, and I think he's a decent buy-down option. I don't think I'm going to spend way up on Boston, but I do think you need one exposure to one of their good players, because if this game stays close like we're talking about, which I think it very well could, you're going to need some exposure back on the Boston side if we're going to stack three guys or even four on the Toronto side. So the question I haven't made my decision. And I know yesterday there were a few guys I wasn't sure on either. And, we had a couple of comments come in on YouTube where, people were like, well, I'm confused. Which guy are you going with? Well, some of these decisions, we're giving you a group to build on in core. But some of these decisions, we have to see how things play out tomorrow. You got to watch any injury news or inactive news. Read into it a little bit, listen to a little coach talk. There's a lot of pieces that go into that final move that you have to make. So for me, I will come up with that in the afternoon tomorrow, and I'll be sharing that other key Boston play, whether it be, I could tell you right now, it's between Tatum, Kemba, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown. And one of those guys will be the probably second banana to Robert Williams that might make everything work. Because if I can get 20 to 25 DFS points from Robert Williams in his 20 to 22 minutes that I think he'll get, that's going to be plenty. So, like you say, spending a lot of time on this game, I may walk away with this, having a 4-3 stack or a 3-3 or 3-2. So, this is going to be the big play for me tomorrow. Just have to make that final decision on the Boston play.
Yeah, and I think it's what you said there towards the end is key. Is if Toronto is going to lock in those 42-minute type evenings for those 3 or 4 key guys that we're interested in, Boston, that means somebody's scoring and their prices are reasonable. Only Tatum is the one that you really have to think about. Yeah. All those other guys make sense, and so it's just about analyzing it, looking at the numbers and fitting it into your lineup and making that final selection on the other side.
And I'll tell you, I think there's going to be a ton of variance in people's lineups. You're not going to have as many dupes because there's just so many people in that mid pricing of 5 to 8,000 where you could go with just a multitude of combinations.
Summer is here and sports are finally back, which can only mean one thing. It's time to get back, relax, and make some cash. Everyone has to start somewhere, which is why you want to get off on the right foot by choosing an established book like MyBookie.ag. With all the major sports seasons just around the corner, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Dynamic betting lines and a simple-to-use platform make the process easier than it's ever been. Create your account in just a few easy steps. Deposit and begin placing your bets. Sign up now using promo code COACHTALK to get your deposit matched 100% all the way up to $1,000. Plus an extra $25 free play. That's promo code COACHTALK. Use it to score yourself an extra piece of the pie. With MyBookie, you bet, you win, and most importantly, when you win, you get paid.
All right. Terrific. A couple of things. If you want to join us at DFS Coach Talk, this is the time to do it. Why don't you tell them about our fall special since you are Mr. Football?
Well, it is now technically September 3rd, which means in 1 week only, it's kickoff. It's time to start the season. It's just so strange to not have a preseason and we just jump right into it. It's going to be amazing. I mean, it almost hasn't sunk in yet, but it's exciting. I absolutely love DFS for the NFL. So Shane and I are going to lead the charge for DFS Coach Talk in that department. And so because of the NFL coming back, we've got a fall special, and it gets you a membership with us all the way through the end of 2020. And it's only $199. So you get a nice discount on the monthly price. You get 4 months, and you get all of our sports. Every membership option we have at DFS Coach Talk, you get every lineup, every day for every sport. So that's 7 days a week right now in NBA. We give you a FanDuel cash lineup, a GPP lineup. We give you the coach's clipboard on DraftKings. Coach gives out a fantasy draft lineup. And then we've got golf once a week, and we're going to do NFL every slate. So every showdown slate, main slate. So it is, like you said, the tremendous time to join. I didn't even mention baseball. Coach has been absolutely crushing MLB. So you get that lineup every day. He had the 20K night this summer. He's just been red hot. So it is a great time to join, and we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Very well said. And it is the time. So just go to DFS Coach Talk. Everything is really laid out right there. DFScoach.com. is what I'm trying to say.
DFSCoachTalk.com. There
I
you go.
can't say it. I am past my bedtime tonight, man. It's just too stressful sweating those games out all
Yeah.
the way down the wire. But exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go there, you can subscribe right online. If you have any questions too, I mean, hit us up even on Twitter. I mean, we're all at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Shane is at DET Sports Shane. So we'll be happy to answer any. Yeah, I can't talk tonight. This is the best, man. I am just stumbling. The other thing, if you're watching us on YouTube and watching me make a blundering fool of myself here, definitely take a second, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and hit that little alarm button so that it lets you know when a new podcast posts, so you can hear me fumble around like a goofball. All right, we need to go to game 2 here. And I guess we're not going to be super long on this one since we're both already have pretty much close to full roster. Game 2, it's a 9 p.m. game. Denver Nuggets, LA Clippers, game 1. We know Denver just came through that 7-game hard-fought series against the well-rested Clippers. Clippers are favored based on the line provided by mybookie.ag by 8.5, and the over-under is 223. So it is 8 points higher. It's going to definitely tease people into stacking, but I'll just give you this much and then let you run with it. I think this game blows out, and I know it's dangerous in DFS sometimes to game script a blowout, but sometimes you gotta take your shots, and I just don't see how Denver rebounds this quickly against just a nasty defensive team in the Clippers.
It would be a tremendous achievement for Denver to keep this close, and I think they're capable of it, but I'd say 7 or 8 times out of 10, the Clippers should win this one pretty easily. They have to be spent, Denver. I mean, what a grind to come back from 3-1, the way they did it. And not to mention, big minutes and, so much responsibility on Murray and Jokic.
Yeah.
It would, I agree. I think you have to predict that the Clippers win it easily. And the thing with the Clippers is even if they don't win it easily, when they have everybody healthy, they do spread it around quite a bit. I mean, Kawhi, when he takes over and Paul George isn't hitting, he obviously can be a monster any day of the week. But
And not to interrupt you, I just want to throw one thing in there when you're breaking it down. Patrick Beverly is probable. So from what I read, he's playing. So that just makes even more tougher to look at.
That's where I was going to go next. When he's back, all of a sudden the value plays of Reggie Jackson and Shamet just aren't as attractive.
No.
I think you could play one of those guys. I don't think I will in my primary lineup, though. It would be a pivot. It would be to try to get a little bit more unique in a GPP. Because I think Beverly, he's going to just focus all of his energy on guarding Murray, and he's not going to worry too much about scoring. He's going to let Kawhi and Paul George do that.
Yeah.
So those guys, it kind of takes Beverly out of it for me for the most part. Kawhi, it just doesn't quite work if you're going to get Lowry and or Van Vliet and or Siakam and one or two of the Celtics. It just doesn't fit. And I'm fine fading him. I mean, if he goes for 55, it could be an issue, but I just think that they don't need him to do that this game, most likely. Yeah. So I'm primarily going to fade him. I mean, for me with the Clippers, it's more just maybe a one-off with maybe Morris or maybe one of the centers. Zubats has done well against Denver. Harrell has done very well against Denver coming off the bench. He's only had that one game against Dallas where he went off, but he's only 4.4. So that's going to be a decision in a lot of my lineups. Harrell at 4.4 or go all the way down to Robert Williams on DraftKings at 3.6. So that's the Clippers side for me. Over on the Denver side, I'm not going to play Murray. I played him, I think, almost every game. in the
Yeah, I
last
think we
series.
did.
But
I think we
yeah,
rostered them all 7. I really
yeah.
do.
But Beverly's going to get after him. He hasn't done much against the Clippers this year. To me, it's Jokic as a pay up guy from this game, or nobody in terms of pay up. And then I do like Torrey Craig again at 3.6. They're going to need him for big minutes. That's just too cheap on DraftKings. And I don't know if he'll get more than 4 or 5 shots, but
Yeah.
he fits well as a value play with the expensive guys from the first game. And then Jeremy Grant is once again in consideration for me. Now he's under 5,000. He's played well against the Clippers. For some reason, he just steps up there. And again, they're going to need him. So those are my 2 favorite value plays over on the Denver side.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, I just don't like this game at all. I really don't. I think you've got a very strong possibility of limited minutes based on, a blowout or possible blowout, deep rotation by the Clippers. And then, Denver, they went with a short rotation because they had to get by Utah. But I think he realizes they're going to be a little gassed here, and he's probably going to, stretch the bench a little bit in this game. So all reasons to avoid the game. I will say that the first game that we talked about with Nick Nurse and Brad Stevens as the 2 coaches, those are 2 of the top 5 coaches in the league. So, they erase each other as far as any advantage. But in this game, I think there's a huge discrepancy. I think Malone is a very, very average coach at best, and Doc is very solid. So I think you get a Clippers advantage, throughout this series, coach-wise also. So he's going to adjust and rotate guys. I am not going to until he proves me different, and I really love him. But Jamal Murray having to face, Beverly for 18 minutes, maybe Paul George for 15 minutes, and just people coming in and harassing him fresh is going to be tough. And they're going to try to play Gary Harris more because he's a great defender, and I get it, but he can't score the ball right now, hardly at all. So when if you've got Craig out there and some of these guys that are defensive minded folks, it's just way too much on the shoulders of Jamal Murray, and the Clippers are going to know that. Doc's going to know that, and I guarantee he's not going to let Murray drop anywhere even close to 40 or 50 against them. He won't get that many attempts. So I think that's my first fade, a major fade of a $9,300 guy on DraftKings that I just think there's too much pressure on him. Now I will say with the Joker, the Clippers at times are susceptible to a good center. Specifically, more of a post-up center where Jokic plays most of the game facing the basket, but he can post up as well. But, I'll tell you, even the interview at the end of that series when they interviewed him, I got to give him major props again. He looked fit. He looked thin. And I was the worst guy in the world on him when the season started. I just fat out called him fat. Yep. And, he wasn't getting up and down the floor. He's just a completely different person out there. So, I think he'll get decent minutes and he can do well, but 9,500, it just reshapes your entire lineup.
It does.
And there's no possible way, if they're getting it handed to him, he's going to get a ton of fourth quarter minutes when they have a full series ahead of him. So I respect Jokic, but I just don't think it's the best spot for him. So for being this game, if I'm going to have, any exposure, I like the guys coming off the bench again because they're cheap. Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. Now Harrell has played poorly, but again, he didn't get back into the bubble until right before the playoffs. And the only good game he had against the Mavericks was in a mop-up role in the fourth quarter, and which I needed. It was a big salvage for me.
That was huge for me.
But so it's not like he's coming in hot, but that's why he's so darn cheap at 4,400 on DraftKings. So you can look at him, I think, in the rotation when the game has a little more of a spread. If they're up 10, 12, 14. Lou and Montrez still are going to get their rotational minutes there, especially since the Clippers haven't played such a long time. So, and when Lou Williams is like a shark in the water, man, he smells blood. He's going to knock down 4 shots on you before you can blink.
Yep.
So, I mean, those two guys at the prices they are make sense.
I'll say on Lou Williams, I
Yeah.
do like him more on FanDuel because he's 6,200 on DraftKings. He's only 53 on FanDuel.
100%. And, and again, with the positionality thing on FanDuel, he's a perfect fit into that shooting guard spot. So
they've got him at point guard now.
Or a point.
Yep.
Okay. Point.
So he would really change things actually, because then you're paying down from either Lowry or Kemba Walker, and if you've already faded Murray, and he's obviously more expensive than Reggie Jackson, Pat Beverly, so that would create a very unique build for a GPP if you go that route. I'm
100% on my cash hybrid and GPP on FanDuel. Kyle Lowry 7,800, Lou Williams at 5,300. 100% lock and load for me. Okay. I think it's a no-brainer. Jamal at $9,000, too much. Kemba 7,600. You go down to Lou, 5,300, $2,300 savings to go down to Lou, and then after that it's plummets. Reggie Jackson, Pat Beverly, Monte Morris, Brad Wanamaker. Enough said. Tremont Waters, Carson Edwards. I mean, that's right. The rest of the point guards.
Yeah.
So there will be dupes here, but I think a lot of people are going to dive back into Murray because he's had all the headlines, hit all the big shots, and I'm sure a lot of people will lean back to Kemba. They saw that beautiful pullback jumper that he hit to win that game, and people are going to buy into that. So you're going to see a lot of Murray Walker, builds, and I'm going Lowry and Williams and using that extra cash. To pump up the middle guys. So good point there. And, you're right on, and that's again to the strategy of, on DraftKings, it's just a completely different build, and that's what has a tendency to throw you because Lou's 6,200 there, point guard and shooting guard eligible. And so that changes things as well, where he's certainly not as conducive there as he would be on FanDuel. And then the nice part about fantasy draft, if you ever play that, and I'll tell you, it's fun. You can build. You don't have the positionality is very lax. You get 3 guards, 3 forwards, and 2 utility. So you could literally play 5 point guards, 5 centers, whatever. So in builds like that, guys like Lou fit well because they make the different pieces work also. So. Other than that, really, this game, like I say, I mean, the exposure, if I have 2 guys from this game, is probably going to be the case, 3 at the most. And I think that's going to be the big focus because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Kawhi and Paul George love too. So,
are you interested in paying up for either one of those guys?
It's hard to game script somewhat of a blowout and pay up for those guys because at 10-3 for Kawhi, highest guy on the entire slate by a lot. He's 800 more than Jokic. And then Paul George at 82. Paul George, you could twist my arm to play him, but you got to remember he hasn't really been on his game. He hasn't played the best basketball to this point. And again, if he's not going to be, fired up out there to play the fourth quarter, and they're going to use their bench, then that's not the best use of salary. But at least that's, again, that might be somewhat contrarian. I think George will get decent ownership, but we never get blamed for playing the chalk here. That's for sure.
No, we don't. Especially if you're going to go with, Lou Williams. That just fits in with the game script of a bit of a blowout. He gets a couple extra minutes. He does more of the scoring, and Paul George and Kawhi aren't going to hit value.
And did you ever notice, Doc, and this is a tendency, he's done this all year, when they're winning by a decent amount, he never plays Zubac extra minutes, ever. He always gives those to Harrell. I don't know what the reasoning is, but he just seems Harrell always gets those mop-up center minutes which is odd, but good from a DFS perspective. So
yeah, it's like
that's
the secret
yeah.
handshake agreement that they got where, Doc convinced him, hey, come off the bench. Okay, I'll still get you even minutes. You'll have a better matchup. You're going to get more
Yes,
touches.
true.
And, I think Harrell has bought into it because he gets fired up when he comes in, plays so hard off the bench. And he just knows I only get 22 to 24 minutes. I got to make the most of it.
Yeah, and that's you're right. That's I'm sure the psychology he used
Mhm.
with him, because that'll help him get the big contract too.
Right.
So yeah, it's gonna be fun games for sure. I mean, who knows? Funnier things have happened. The Clippers probably are gonna step on the court thinking they're gonna wax them too.
Yeah.
So that's a dangerous thing. So
Yep.
hopefully they realize that they need to get down to business right away. And I have a hard time thinking Toronto isn't going to just show up big time. The champs going down 0-3 here just doesn't seem to make sense to me. So I think they're going to show up.
I do too.
All right. A couple quick things. Again, I'll mention a second time. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's important for us. Thumbs up, subscribe, hit that reminder button to give you the information of when our podcast post. You can catch us on Instagram, DFS_Coach Talk. Certainly, jump on if you want to follow us tomorrow in Discord and get our lineups 30 minutes before lock. You can sign up at dfscoachtalk.com. Best place to go, even if you don't want to try the fall special. You want to go just try a week, just jump in, give us a shot, because I think you'll find a lot of our members are going to be the first to jump up and say how much they enjoy really our white glove approach to just working with everybody. We go in DMs all the time with every member for whatever they need. So definitely look forward to having you guys join us. Also, want to thank our presenting sponsors, mybookie.ag. Again, go there and use the promo code CoachTalk, all one word, for a terrific offer, as well as tvg.com. Same exact situation. Our charity of choice here, Andrew, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're mambaon3.org. That's
Yes.
MAMBAONTHREE.org. And it is a wonderful charity set up by Vanessa Bryant and the Bryant family. All right, I think that's everything. We've got the 2 games in the books. Tomorrow is our first ever Thursday doubleheader. I was wrong yesterday when I pronounced it as a doubleheader today. Andrew let me know that I was one day off on the PGA because of the Labor Day deal.
Instead who could blame you? You're excited for the Tour Championship. We all are, but it's Friday to Monday this time.
Friday to Monday, because Monday's Labor Day. Exactly. And I'm very fired up for that. That's going to be a blast. With only 30 guys, you get to see all your guys that you roster. So we'll have a doubleheader show tomorrow. Andrew and I on both ends of it. We're going to hit in probably dinner time-ish. We'll make sure we have that PGA podcast up so can listen to it in the evening and build those lineups out before you go to bed. So Friday morning you can get up and you're ready to go. And then we will also have the next NBA podcast in our 7-day coverage also. So that is it, my friend. I think we pretty much laid out our strategy. Heavy Toronto, Boston, light on Denver Clippers, and then just having to adjust a few pieces to make sure we have those winning lineups ready to roll.
Sounds like some more winners to me.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and hopefully this helps you take some stuff down. Let us know. Give us feedback. We'd love to hear back from you either on Twitter. You can just go right to our @DFS Coach Talk, or on YouTube. There were several things up there today, questions and things. We went back and forth with some information. It was great, and we love the feedback. So look forward to hearing from you on there. All right, that is it, my friend. I think we're going to wrap it up. call it a night. Get this over to Bryce so he can get it posted for us. And when we attack another day, it was a real profitable basketball night for us. As we said, that was exciting. I will say that this was a dud of a baseball night. Got to come clean on everything. It was definitely a swing and miss. Actually, it was a take the third strike looking kind of night. Buckle at the knees. It was a curveball when you were looking for a fastball. But you know what? It happens. Tomorrow we come out mad. Yep. And we've got a really good slate tomorrow of games. I already have a few guys I've got in mind, so I'm ready to attack that with a vengeance. So, excellent. All right. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Look forward to our doubleheader tomorrow. And for everybody listening out there, stay safe, stay healthy. And we really appreciate you spending this time with us at DFS Coach Talk. So we will be back again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA and PGA and MLB DFS.